Today, I have Dr. Scott Sells with me. He is the founder of the Family Systems Trauma Model, and most recently, the author of Treating the Traumatized Child. Hey, Scott, thanks for being with us.
Hey, how are you? I'm so appreciative for letting me come and chat with your community, your tribe, your village today. So,
Yeah, I'm really excited for them to learn more about your work. As you know, I was introduced to your writing when I myself was completing my master's program, and that was was it your first book, Treating the Tough
yeah, treating the
Adolescent?
tough adolescent. Yeah,
Yeah, and so now we get to talk about this fully developed model, which I'm excited about. So, first, could we start with the basics? I'd like you to share more about what you mean by the term traumatized family.
that's a great question right off the bat because it's oftentimes not understood clearly. So for me, right out of graduate school, I was really focused on the individual client-centered
Mhm.
model. That when a
Okay.
child had a symptom, I would work with the child. In fact, I even went way back to the beginning of just doing play therapy, very
Yeah.
non-directive.
Hmm.
And so what would happen would be is I got more and more interested into kids that had symptoms of oppositional defiant conduct disorder, because I myself was like that when I was a kid. And
Hmm.
so the traumatized family became that there was a dance going on between the parents and child. And I'll never forget Salvador Minuchin, who started structural family therapy, would ask the systemic question of the year: how do you help your child misbehave? And so,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
I started seeing in my first job, which is an alternative school, that I really love cognitive behavioral therapy, and my work
Mhm.
integrates that using anger management tools for the kiddos. But then when they would go home for the summer, I'd almost have to start all over again because I saw the family is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Sure.
And so necessity requires change. And so I went back to graduate school uh, so I could learn high level family therapy because it scared me to death.
Mm.
Um, but I knew I had to do it if I was going to create second order change in kids and families where the change stuck after I
Yeah.
was done. So that's to me the traumatized family or the family is the influence, the interaction
Hmm.
between parent and child um, that occurs in families like a living, breathing organism. So
Thank you. And what are the steps that therapists and counselors often miss when they're working with these families?
I think there's three. The first one is how treatment starts. It's often a harsh startup. So
Mm.
what we found is that my research is grounded theory, which means that I go to the actual clients and help them get their help to build a model, which is called the Family Systems Trauma Model. And they told me that the first phone call was abysmal, where
Mm.
the idea is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Sure.
And so the traditional motivational interviewing was very non-directive. So we came up with a 7 question script that start off with questions like, if we get to know you better, what qualities will we come to admire about you? And
Mm.
parents weren't expecting that because the tradition was parents just come in and say, fix my kid.
Right.
They won't engage. But when we looked at it, even John Gottman's work is really cutting edge around how we start a relationship off soft startup, harsh startup. So we
Mm.
developed these questions that prepares a family to come in a soft, ready to change way. And it's amazing how for therapy to end properly, it must begin properly.
Mm.
Secondly, is we have to have a way to get the family engaged right out of the gate. So when families come in, they're very emotionally charged up. And so if you ask that traditional question is why you here, what's the goal? Metaphorically, we'd see families like even emotionally throw up on each other. They
Mm,
immediately attack the kid, they'd attack each other, and you'd lose control of the session in 3.5 seconds. So,
sure.
having the family come in soft with the motivational phone call, and then using a technique called the FST, Family Systems Trauma Stress Chart, allows
Mm,
families to look up on the board and say, on a scale of 0 to 100%, how stressed out are you right now with your child? And people are able to look at the board. I'm 90% stressed, 100% stressed. So it empowers everybody's voice to look up on the board and put a mark. And then it helps the therapist to say, okay,
mm,
you said 100% stress, mom. Let's break it down into the top three. So the second tool that's missing is actual scripts
yeah.
for
Mhm,
somebody who's never done family therapy or even seasoned therapist to have a systematic directive approach that settles the family down and moves them to see the problem not as a kid problem, but
mm.
a family solution. And then the
That's so
third
key.
thing, yeah, and the third thing is okay, the family now goes to now what? Now that you've helped us see what's driving it, now what? And so another technique is called an FST playbook. And this comes from Haley's work with strategic family therapy, where he would self design directives or techniques to change the dance.
Mhm,
And so one of them might be the parent and child are engaged in an all out conflict of lack of attachment or nurturance. So you have to give the parent and child an antibiotic, which we call a positive child report, where the family catches their child doing something right and hands the child a certificate.
mm,
Yeah, it's not the intervention, it's the organized, step by step, written dance move. And then the third, and you've got to then also have role plays, dress rehearsals. You can't expect a family to dance differently
sure,
without a clear playbook and a clear coach. We don't do this in the acting world, so why would we do it in the real world? And so
sure.
those are tools that are missing from families, our family work that we saw.
Yeah, so one of the things that your model really does is explains things in a step-by-step fashion and gives tools for each step.
Yeah. And the
And so
transit even the transition sentences, because somebody once said to me, in order to be spontaneous, I need to be structured first.
mhm,
And what
sure.
that simply means is paint the fence, sand the fence. Yeah,
Sure.
like
Yes, yes,
cry.
yeah. I think that's true in every craft, skill, what have you. So you likely already answered this because you just gave several things that therapists can begin doing. But as I was putting questions together for speaking with you, one of the things that I was wondering, is there one thing that therapists can do, maybe something simple, beginning today? Those that are watching this video, in order to either improve engagement or improve their outcomes with families. Because I think, like you, there are many family therapists, MFTs that don't see families because there could be a fear there. So even just one thing that could they could begin to do now that would
Yeah.
dissipate that fear or improve their engagement or their outcomes.
Yeah, I think confidence rises with success. And so I tried to make it really easy. Obviously, people can order the book off Amazon, Treating the
Right.
Traumatized Child. But that today, when we're so drowning in information, it's really hard to sit down and read a 365 single space book. Um,
Sure.
but some people like that, you know. But for me, the most dynamic way to learn is to see it. And so, if you go to familytrauma.com, one is there'll be short articles on some of these techniques, like the motivational phone call that
Mhm.
has the script, and you can begin immediately. And then the thing I'm most excited about is I put my sweat and toil into designing an online self-paced 12 module course because I saw people love to see video clips of the
Mhm.
techniques with real families, with worksheets, and then apply it immediately. And I was skeptical about it first, but we've had a lot of graduates, and they're like,
Mm,
"That's been the game changer. It's bite-sized, I can
mm,
consume it easy, and I get quick results." And I'm part of a community because I have office hours every Friday, and I get to have the benefit to be like a family systems trauma coach,
sure.
and I love that. Absolutely
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
And through this course, then therapists are able to learn your model and these techniques that you're referring to.
Yeah, they're broken up 12 modules, 12 core techniques. So if they want to learn the motivational phone call, they go to module 2.
Got it.
They
Okay.
watch the video, it's 20 minutes. They click on to get their CE unit certificate, and then they have a worksheet. They see it being done with a real case, and then they're ready to
Mm,
go immediately. And if they get stuck, they come on Fridays, either on demand or live, and say, "Scott, I tried the technique and the family threw me a curveball. Now what?" And
mm,
so, and then they get part of a community of other students who are also there to help each other out. And so it
mm.
becomes a transformational catalyst to create a family trauma community of counselors who work together. And I get to be, you know, the facilitator of that. So it's really fun for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing more about that, about your work, and about this upcoming course. And is there anything else that you'd like to add that I didn't ask?
I just want to thank you guys for what you do. I mean, family therapy is on the endangered species list. Jay Haley, who's the founder of Strategic Family Therapy, before he died, said that family therapy was had so much promise in the 80s. We oftentimes didn't have the research that we needed behind it. It was kind of like a rock star status type of thing. But I think today, as we prepare for rain, and it's already coming, that we're going to see more and more traumatized families and communities that are going to
Mm,
need a systems approach. And even the idea of COVID, the idea of social distancing, human beings have to have that contact. And right
yeah.
now it's broken. So, our role of bringing this together, family therapy has never been needed more than today. And so,
Yeah.
I appreciate your group to come together and further. And I can play one small part in that. I'm glad to do that. So I was looking forward to today to talk and give you guys encouragement because this is not easy work, but nothing good comes easy. But if
Mm.
you don't do it, who will?
Uh,
Um, and so I just am really worried for our families, but I'm also hopeful because I think we have an army of people who are starting to learn this approach. So thank you.
Perfectly said and inspiring as always, Scott. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.